What is happening, fellers? It is your guy, Donovan James, back with a... Okay, let's just skip the intro. So you probably saw the title of this video and you were like...
You serious?
Let me just get one thing out of the way first. Ice Age is not even close to the level of Toy Story. Obviously. My point isn't to claim that Toy Story may become like Ice Age in terms of quality, but rather, will the Toy Story franchise risk suffering the same fate as the Ice Age franchise? When it comes to animated franchises, Ice Age is the poster child of milking the franchise.
Animal, your baby, my milk. I thought you were a
Brain-dead audience ready to consume crap? Think again? Despite the cruddy Rotten Tomatoes scores, most audience members tended to enjoy the first three films and thought it was just a fun little adventurous, lighthearted trilogy. Then came Continental Drift.
My bounty!
Continental Drift was the worst reviewed of the Ice Age movies at the time.
My bounty!
When looking at general aggregates, audience members thought it was fine, but easily the weakest of the series. And then, rather than quit while they were ahead with the 5th highest grossing film of 2012, Blue Sky got greedy and released this sorry disgrace of a film. This movie commits the Cars 2 crime of genre derailment, but at an astronomically worse level. Along with having a painfully stupid story, painfully unfunny characters,
crashing and reporting for duty.
and painfully awful romances, this is definitely a disaster of a film. To add on to the crap, this movie saw a 53% decline at the box office compared to its predecessor. It was clear that this franchise had ran its course and the audience was ready for it to go extinct. And that was the final time that Ice Age appeared in theaters. Oh, notice I said in theaters, because for whatever stupid reason, Disney tried to revive this franchise through releasing a crappy spin-off, Adventures of Buck Wild, which somehow was arguably worse received than Collision Course. So why do I mention all this? Well, let's gear towards the Toy Story franchise now. You have a first three set of movies that are very well received, obviously way more than the Ice Age franchise. While there was primarily general audience members that liked the Ice Age trilogy, everyone loved the Toy Story trilogy. It just had a universal appeal and charm that everyone could get something out of, as well as a phenomenally consistent story, where each movie focuses on the themes of friendship and the toy's relationship with Andy, and in particular, Woody's relationship with Andy. Each movie gradually builds upon Woody's grappling with the fear of abandonment from Andy. Movie 1 presents a new toy that doesn't allow Woody to be the center of attention anymore. Movie 2 poses Woody with the fear that Andy will eventually outgrow him. And movie 3 follows up on that by having Andy eventually grow up and not play with toys that much anymore. Each movie building upon sticking by friends through thick and thin and learning when to say goodbye. Well, sort of goodbye. Enter Toy Story 4, where Woody and the gang, Woody, return, and where Woody must learn how to adapt to the fact that Bonnie is not like Andy, leading him on a journey to rediscover himself. In a lot of ways, Toy Story 4 deviated from the normal attributes of the original trilogy, one of the most notable being, rather than the story centralizing around the toys' relationship with their owners or children, Toy Story 4 centers around toys' relationships with each other. Whereas each of the first three movies seem to gradually increase the scale of the story, Toy Story 4 intentionally shrinks the scale. Rather than Woody and Buzz being the anchors of the adventure with the original gang following behind, Toy Story 4 makes Woody and Bo Peep the anchors of the adventure with a bunch of new toys and Buzz following behind. So in a lot of ways, Toy Story 4 may feel a tad disjointed from the seamless nature of the original trilogy. That's not at all to say that Toy Story 4 is a bad film or just completely unnecessary. It's more to say that it explains a little bit of why Toy Story 4 is usually considered the weakest of the Toy Story movies. So, in the eyes of the audience, Toy Story 4 was a fourth entry in a satisfying trilogy that may have been one of the highest grossing movies in the franchise, but was also the weakest received in the franchise. Sounds a little familiar. And then, rather than finish while they were ahead,
and the Oscar goes to Toy Story 4. Josh Cooley, Mark Nielsen, and Jonas Rivera.
Pixar is now at work to release Toy Story 5 in 2026. Now, it remains to be seen if Toy Story 5 is a good or bad movie. I hope Toy Story 5 is a great film. All I'm really trying to do is somewhat highlight the stakes that I think Toy Story 5 may have on its shoulders. Right now, Toy Story may be showing some concerning signs of heading down the path of the Ice Age franchise. I mean, for goodness sake, both of them even have the disappointing spin-off movie that didn't make them any money. And let me reiterate again before some salty Ganfeld starts sending me angry comments, they are not comparable in terms of quality. Most people like the Toy Story franchise way more than the Ice Age franchise, even if you were to limit both of them to just their original trilogies. But in a certain sense, that puts even more pressure on the Toy Story franchise. I mean, no one really had any expectations for the Ice Age franchise. People enjoyed them, but it's not like there was some extremely strong story connecting all three of them, or any kind of reputation of extreme high quality. They were just fun little adventure movies. Heck, Blue Sky could have made as many of them as they wanted as long as they weren't garbage, which they ended up being. When it comes to Toy Story, it had the reputation as not only a fantastic animated trilogy, but one of the greatest trilogies of all time. I mean, heck, if it wasn't for like two people, the Toy Story trilogy would have had an average score of 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, which no other trilogy, certainly no mainstream trilogy, ever accomplished. So with Pixar already having pushed their luck with Toy Story 4 and succeeding, managed to push their luck even further with Toy Story 5, and that ended up being mid or worse, then Toy Story may become the poster child of milking a franchise, where you take an original trilogy that had a special degree of consistency, closure, and perfection, and then you add on two sequels that destroy that. And I'm adding Toy Story 4 into that, even though I think it's a great film, because I'm going to go on a strong prediction that if Toy Story 5 is bad, then you will watch the reputation of Toy Story 4 nosedive dramatically. Sort of like what I think happened to The Force Awakens after the Rise of Skywalker. So yeah, as I said in my Toy Story 4 analysis, which go check that out if you haven't already, I think that the legacy of Toy Story 4 lies a lot in Toy Story 5's hands. And some of you may be asking, Don, couldn't the Despicable Me franchise be considered the poster child of milking a franchise? And to that I'd say,
you're despicable.
Sure, maybe a lot of people do think that Despicable Me is getting milked hard right now, but I still don't think it has the notoriety of the Ice Age franchise. Nor do I think Despicable Me has necessarily been milked dry, because, I mean, it still is getting a lot of money at the box office. It's not experiencing more than a 50% decline. Plus, I don't think it's receiving a gigantic decline in its quality. Like, at their worst, the Despicable Me sequels are usually just seen as subpar yet harmless. Like, there's enough zany stuff to keep you at least mildly amused, but nothing that makes you care about it once it ends. So I don't necessarily think Despicable Me is a poster child of milking a franchise. Ice Age symbolizes milking a franchise from both a quality and a financial aspect. And if Toy Story 5 isn't good, then I think that Toy Story will become a poster child of milking a franchise from a quality aspect. With the exception of woke controversy, I imagine Toy Story 5 will probably make $1 billion, so it's not going to be some kind of box office decline or box office failure. But if it's not careful, then Toy Story 5 may dramatically change the legacy of the Toy Story franchise altogether. Despite how many people may vocally dislike Toy Story 4, it still is generally held in high regard, and it has quite a few receipts to show for it. Toy Story 5 could change that. Either Toy Story 5 can just continue to add on to Toy Story's incredible legacy of each movie managing to shock everyone and redefine the standards for animated movies, or it could hurt that legacy. I mean, think about it. Every Toy Story movie, in some manner, changed the game for animation. Toy Story 1 transformed the dominant style of animation by being the first CGI animated film. Toy Story 2 changed the standards for animated sequels by being a sequel that matched the quality of the first. Toy Story 3 changed the game by becoming the first animated film to crack the $1 billion mark, as well as deliver a perfect beginning, middle, and end to a trilogy to where there's no clear weak link at all. And love it or hate it, Toy Story 4 changed the game by challenging the conventional standards of a closed trilogy by delivering an extension that a ton of people, and dare I say majority of people, really loved. And Toy Story 5 has the chance to change the game again by becoming just the second franchise ever to have a 5th theatrically released movie, but this time it actually doesn't suck, which could really show animated studios that there doesn't have to be a limit to how many great stories you can tell with the franchise, as long as you truly put in the effort to construct it and tell it properly. Or on the contrary, Toy Story 5 can risk shifting Toy Story into the place of the Ice Age franchise. Milked. I sure hope Toy Story 5 takes the first route. But that is the video. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out my Toy Story 4 analysis if you haven't already, and just check out my 5 Years Later series in general. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.